So this is Venkatesh. I have close to 8.5 years of IT experience, and I have been working in MuleSoft for the past 2.5. Guys, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Venkat Krishna here.
Yeah, Krishna.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute, Venkat. Actually, a couple of candidates have to be joined.
Sure. Okay.
I'm just following up them. Just give me 2 minutes. I will let you know what is status. Okay.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
So, guys, in the meantime, we can have a quick introduction among ourselves. Hello.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So this is Venkat. I have close to 8.5 years of IT experience, and I've been working in MuleSoft for the past 2.5 years. And overall, my experience, I have worked on various domains like telecom, finance, banking. And currently I have been working as an associate integration architect, Mule integration architect for a product based organization called ServiceNow India Private Limited. So it's basically into ITSM product development. I have been working for the integration layer for the product, and this is the just introduction from my side. And I have been based out of Hyderabad. So let me call out the names so that we can have introduction from all of you. Hi Balu.
Hi Venkatesh.
Hey, hi.
Is this Venkatesh? Only?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working as a TIPCO developer in Bangalore.
Okay.
I have 1.5 year experience on ESB,
Okay.
and now I'm interested in learn MuleSoft.
Sure, Balu. So, guys, when I ask for the introduction, just tell about your name, your company, what is your background, and what would be your expectation from this class.
Okay.
Thanks, Balu. Good to know that. I think
Yeah.
I have already trained a lot of TIPCO people, so I think TIPCO is the first
Okay.
ESB that bites the dust actually. I think because I could see like at least in a class of 10 people, I can recollect at least 3 to 4 are from TIPCO background.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, fine. Hi, Naveen. Naveen, are you able to hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm I was able to.
Okay. Okay. Hi, this is Nabeen. I'm working as an integration architect from the last 11 years. And currently, I'm working on Sterling Integrator, which is from IBM. So pretty much all my 11 years is into integration area. So now I'm interested to learn MuleSoft as my current organization is looking towards APIs and something to. So we bought recently the MuleSoft tool, so we want to move over to MuleSoft for the P2P integrations. Yeah.
Okay, sure, Naveen. Hi, Rahul.
Hey, Venkat.
Hey, hi.
Yes. So, my name is Rahul. I have been working as an Oracle DBA slash database engineer for the last 8 years.
Okay.
And currently I'm working for Wells Fargo. Most of my database experience has been related to data integration. I recently started hearing about MuleSoft and that it is the next big thing when it comes to contracting in the US. So that's why I'm interested in learning this product. So
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
Good to hear that, Rahul. Hi, Sanjeev. Hi, Sanjeev. Sanjeev Rai. Hey, Sanjeev, are you able to hear me? Okay, we are not able to hear you, Sanjeev. Okay, that's fine. We can just proceed with the other candidates. Hey, it's okay, no problem, Sanjeev. Hi, Santosh.
Hi, Venkat. Hi, Hal. Good morning. So I'm Santosh. I have been working as a senior developer. So in Sakari Cybertech Private Limited. I'm from Hyderabad. So I'm working as in JTU Technologies. So
Okay.
like Spring frameworks and all those things. So I don't have any experience on TIPCO or this ESB or something.
Okay.
Basically, we are getting one new project on Mule software, so that's why I'm interested on this.
Sure, Santosh. No worries.
I
Hi,
will take
Sri.
a off call after this session. So with you, Venkat.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Definitely. No problem, Santosh.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Srilata.
I've
Hi.
been working on TIPCO for past 5 years. I've worked on integration tools with RIA and TIPCO. Now I see MuleSoft is the preferred thing in integration space. That's why I want to learn it.
Sure, Srilata. Good to know that. Hi, Tarun. Tarun. Okay, fine. Hi, Uday.
Hi Venkatesh.
Hi.
My name is Uday. I live in North Carolina, Charlotte. Right now, I'm working with Wells Fargo, but I'm totally into manual testing. But I just want to move to MuleSoft because it was very good in market right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure, Uday. Sure.
yeah, thank you.
So, okay, guys. So we can start off with our session today. So as part of the course, we will be talking about like managing the complete API lifecycle, starting from the requirements, then design, then building and deployment of the API. So the course objectives would be like mainly we would be using AnyPoint platform, the product which we have defined from the MuleSoft, and we are going to see how we can use AnyPoint Studio to build our applications API implementations. AnyPoint Studio is nothing but a simple tool which was written as a wrapper on top of the Eclipse, and we would be using that we will be using this tool for developing the API-led applications, and we will be connecting to some of the connectors like databases, file, web services, SaaS applications, queues, and we would be using the transform message component. Like whenever we want to transform from one specific type to the another specific type, so then we will be going for this transform message component, and then we would be talking about like how to handle the errors or the exception strategies in the MuleSoft, and then we will be talking about like structuring the applications. And this is going to be primarily hands-on course, guys, because for the first 3 to 4 days it would be theory, because I want to cover all the basics, like what are all the web services, what is the SOAP web service, what is the REST web service. So once the basics were covered, then it would be like more hands-on class. So the prerequisite for doing the course is like you should be able to download the MuleSoft AnyPoint Studio from the. So we should be able to download the AnyPoint Studio from the Google, and you should have JDK 1.7 or 1.8 defined in your path variable. So once you download that, then we can automatically restart our AnyPoint Studio. So let me show you that. So you can just directly download it from the AnyPoint platform website. So from the MuleSoft website, where you can select whether your system is Windows or Mac. So based on that, you can select either 32-bit or 64-bit version. Yeah, so here you can just pass on your details, and then you will be able to download the AnyPoint Studio. So once you download the AnyPoint Studio, you don't need to install it. It's just an extractable where you can just extract that zip and you can start using that. And then after that, you need to install Postman is a tool just for testing the RESTful web services. So we would be using this Postman as a tool, and for the resting the web services, this is how the Postman looks like. Yeah, this is how the tool looks like, and this is how the AnyPoint Studio looks like. So that is pretty much similar to the Eclipse. As I told you, it's just a wrapper written on top of Eclipse. And then we would be using Salesforce developer account for connecting to the Salesforce applications. So make sure guys, you would be doing all these things by tomorrow's class so that it would be easy for you to follow me throughout the class. So as part of this class, we are going to mainly build a live application or a live project called Mule United Airport. Let's say we have a airport application where we will be getting the data from the different systems. Like we will be getting flights related data from different terminals. Like one would be for American Airlines, one would be for Delta Airlines, and the other one would be for American Airlines. So Delta Airlines, they are exposing their data in the SOAP web services. American Airlines, they are exposing the data with the help of a database. And coming to the rest, in United Airlines, they are exposing their data as a RESTful web service. So right now we have three different terminals and three different architectures that are available in three different systems. So we want to write a common integration layer or common integration platform where we should be able to get the data from all these applications and you can send it across to the multiple users. So apart from the terminals data, apart from the airline data, even the airport might need some data from the Salesforce because all the accounts and transaction related data was in the Salesforce system. And even apart from that, we have some of the accounting related data which is available in the MySQL database. So as part of the project or as part of the training, we are going to completely come up with the creation of this application. So first we would be creating a simple RESTful API, like how we can create a RESTful API, and internally in the MuleSoft, in the Mule code, we would be connecting to the database and we would be fetching the data from the database. Then once after that, we will be talking about like how to design an API, then how to build an API and how to maintain it, and then how to deploy and manage those APIs. So after going with the basic life cycle of the API, then we will be talking about like how to structure the Mule applications, how to consume the web services in the Mule, and how we can access the messages in the Mule. Messages would be nothing but the requests that we are going to get. So how can we access those requests and how can we modify them? How can we handle the exception handling mechanism? How can we write the multiple conditions like for each condition, if else conditions in Mule? And finally, we would be talking about like connecting to the external resources. So as part of additional resources, we will be trying like how to connect to the file system, how to connect to a queuing system, like queuing system in the sense like Apache ActiveMQ or WebLogic JMS implementation. And finally, we will be talking about the batch processing. So batch processing is a component which is available in the Mule, which will be processing huge set of data. Guys, just give me a moment, please. So let us talk about the first module, like how we can implement the API-led connectivity with the Anypoint platform. So Anypoint platform is a product, guys. Like it has a lot of components inside that. So we will be like discussing about what are the benefits and how we can design an API first of all. So once you design an API, then the developer responsibility to build an API. So once you build an API using the Anypoint Studio, then we will be using again Anypoint platform Cloud Hub features where we can deploy it directly on the Anypoint Cloud Hub environment. So as part of this module, or as part of this particular part, we would be trying to identify different objectives that are going to be faced, or different constraints that are the problems that are going to be faced by IT today. And then we can see how the API-led connectivity will really makes us, or makes the things better for us. Then we will be discussing about the web services and what is the need for going to the APIs, and then we will be talking about like how to make a call to a application in the Postman, and then I will be taking you through the Anypoint platform. So for this, let me just play a small video so that it can give you a better picture on why we need to really go for a API-led architecture. Guys, are you able to hear that voice?
No, it is not audible.
One second. And application networks. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine. The biggest challenge with IT today is it just can't seem to go fast enough. We have to get everything in the cloud. We need big data and to provide analytics against that data. We need mobile applications that expose our information. And we need to keep up with all of the digital competition that's just growing and growing. Now the problem is, when we look at our IT delivery capacity, we're going to have this big gap in our need to support the change. And this gap is just going to grow larger and larger over time as the IT delivery capacity can't support the rapidness we need to adapt to. So how could we enable IT to support business transformation? Well, we could take that delivery capacity we have and we could instead focus on building reusable APIs and services, things that can be accessed and discovered. What this will provide is the business to self-serve and deliver more of their own projects the right way. Rather than having to constantly go to IT to get information about data sets they need to access, they can reuse these APIs throughout their different applications. So let's bring this into a concrete example. What would a traditional project-based approach look like? Well, if we had a web app that provided real-time order data and status in history that needed to connect to the e-commerce system, an inventory data system like SAP, and maybe needed to access SAP in Salesforce. So what might this look like in a traditional approach? Well, we've got our SAP Salesforce e-commerce system. We've got the client we eventually need to get this data up to. Let's look at the integration project. Inside of the integration project we might build out, perhaps we combine the SAP, Salesforce, and customer data together. And then from that, we can derive order status by bringing in the e-commerce system and linking into that SAP and Salesforce data in our integration project. Also derive order history, similarly by bringing in the customer data and e-commerce orders themselves. Now we bring that all up into a web app and API, and we've achieved the project that we needed to bring data into. So what does this look like? What did we accomplish? Well, we could deliver this on time, and we could definitely deliver it within budget and meeting the requirements that are needed. But there's really no reuse in this integration project. It seems to be pretty tightly coupled to the applications we've linked into, and there's a lack of governance or an inability to manage access and gain visibility into what's happening in these various systems. Now, let's look into the future here a bit. We need a mobile API now, but the individuals who have worked on that old integration project, they're long gone or don't remember exactly what they had did to bring all these pieces together. So now, to support our mobile API, how are we going to bring this data together? Well,
Like many companies do, we may just reinvent the wheel again. We'll set up a second integration project that combines data together, derives order status and order history. We'll feed that up in a specific way to the mobile API, and that's how we'll support our mobile API. But there's a problem with this. How are we going to continue to adapt to the change we need to over time? Let's look at the same integration project and see how we could do this differently with an API-led connectivity approach. Well, if we look at our systems like SAP and Salesforce, we know that these are going to have customer data inside of them. What if we were to expose the SAP system with an API and expose our Salesforce customer data with an API as well? Then if desired, we could even bridge these two together with a single customer API that could be used. Similarly, with our e-commerce system, we could build an orders system API that sits underneath. The key thing here is that each piece has an API laid on top of it. These layers we often refer to as the system APIs. These can oftentimes just be internal APIs that don't get exposed publicly, but as you'll see, are going to be used in other APIs. Now on top of this, maybe we want to bring a process together like order status or order history. Bringing these processes that are focused on things like a specific use case of order status, they can then use the customer's system API in the orders API. Again, this layer we refer to as the process API, focused around processes. Now that we have order status and order history, we can then bring together a higher up layer, a web app, or an API that's focused on delivering to that client. We often refer to this layer as the experience API.
Hello?
Now, when that mobile application comes along 6 months later, what do we have to do this time around? Do we need to rebuild everything again, such as the old integration project? Well, we can build another experience API.
Muted.
Not able to hear now?
Yes.
Hello? Hello?
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
We can't hear you.
On top of that, in the
Unmuted.
process layer, we could bring the shipment status together, focused on giving statuses.
Yeah, it's audible now.
And then we could link that into the mobile API to add that extra experience into the mobile application. Again, promoting reuse throughout. Now that our old integration project has vanished away, let's take a look at the pros and the cons. Well, we can still deliver this approach on time, if not faster. It can be within budget, since we're not re-delivering the same thing each project, and it will meet requirements. Now, what about some of these other pieces? Well, now we support reuse, as we're constantly reusing our process and system APIs throughout. We're no longer tightly coupled to each application. We're more composable and able to pull things out and put new pieces in. And our lack of governance we saw before is now built in to any of these layers we needed, since everything's exposed as an API. Now we've also brought on the benefit of our system being far more future-proof. So if down the road we bring on a more modern microservice, we can build a system API on top of that. We can bring these process APIs in place focused around the process at hand, and then eventually expose another experience API to say something like a partner portal. Another huge use case with future-proofing ourselves is we can build system APIs on top of our large legacy ERP system. We can build a few system APIs that hit on each area of that system, merge that together with some process APIs that are useful for our organization, and then bring out whatever experience APIs are relevant to us. Now, another great thing is we want to be very agile. We don't want to be locked into this single legacy ERP system. And this model allows us to be flexible like that. If we want to rip out just a single part of the ERP system, we can bring it out. Since our system API stays the same, we just need to change the implementation under the covers. And as time goes on, we can rip out more and more pieces of our legacy system and make that process transparent to the overall architecture. And what we end up with are effectively a bunch of building blocks. And the reason we call them building blocks is you can pull pieces out and reconstruct other areas if needed. You're not bound into this big monolithic architecture that is impossible to change. Now, what will happen over time is you're going to have this application network emerge. And the great thing is this isn't some huge project where you need to rip every piece out. As you take this API-led approach, you end up with more and more building blocks over time. So the application network emerges as you deliver projects. You don't need to build the full network out at once. And you might not get everything right at first. So as certain blocks get ripped out and other blocks get replaced, new systems come out and in, that's quite all right. Because you have this composable system.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Introducing. And now what will happen over time is you're going to have this building blocks. And the reason we call them building blocks is you can pull pieces out and reconstruct other areas if needed. You're not bound into this big monolithic architecture that is impossible to change. Now what will happen over time is you're going to have this application network emerge. And the great thing is this isn't some huge project where you need to rip every piece out. As you take this API-led approach, you end up with more and more building blocks over time. So the application network emerges as you deliver projects. You don't need to build the full network out at once. And you might not get everything right at first. So as certain blocks get ripped out and other blocks get replaced, new systems come out and in, that's quite all right. Because you have this composable system, it allows you to be flexible in the way you need to adapt to change. And really the key thing here is this is your application network. It's not prescribed for all organizations. It's something that emerges as you solve your own use cases using an API-led approach. And we're now built for the change that we'll need to adapt to over time.
So right now, like we are trying to understand like what is the real-time need of going for an API-led architecture or API-led connectivity. So I hope you guys were able to understand that as part of this video. And some more advantages of going for the integration layer in between. Like when we talk about integrations, like in our day-to-day applications, we will be integrating a lot of applications. So apart from API-led architecture, it will be always advantage for us, like when we go for a integration layer or a integration platform in between the applications. What are the problems that we are going to face generally with the point-to-point integration? So when you say point-to-point integration, suppose if I have an application A which is directly connected to the application B. Now the problem is these two applications were running on different technologies. So one application is capable of exposing the data or API in the REST format, while the other application was capable of exposing the data in the SOAP format. Now the problem is one API, one application would be using HTTP layer for connecting to the applications, and the other one was expecting a SOAP protocol. So now you need to take care of complete transformation and routing logic here. That is one problem. Second problem with the point-to-point integration here is, suppose like message type of the two application differs. Message type of the two application differs in the sense like one application is exposing the data in the JSON format and the other application was expecting it in the XML format. So that is where the message type of two application is going to be different. The next one is like, as I told you, the message producers and consumers are exposed by different protocols. Yes. So as I told you, like one is expecting the HTTP protocol and the other one is expecting the SOAP protocol. Or might be one would be expecting the TCP protocol and the other one would be expecting HTTP protocol. Suppose if there is any change in the target system, like if I connected to so and so system, tomorrow they might come back and say that, hey Venkat, I have changed this URL. You need to accommodate these changes in your system. But that is not going to be possible here. The problem over here was whenever you change something, like whenever you change any component or any attribute, so even that change needs to be has implemented or consumed at the source level as well. So if you build an application as a single web application archive or a single service, so you can't scale up your integration layer. See, tomorrow when you just think of something like where you would be expecting there would be a huge data that would be coming to your system. So you want to just increase or scale up your application just for 2 more days. I mean, just for 2 hours, or it could be just for 2 days. So when you go for an EAR or a WAR file deployment, you can't simply scale up your applications. And whenever the target systems come down, so even our application also will break down. So that is the reason they mention it as a single point of failure. So after discussing all these things, what we are doing, what we are doing mainly here. So the idea is to connect application A to application B. But rather than that, what we are doing all the unwanted stuff, like the donkey work, I can call it as. So our business intention was like connect application A to application B. But rather than that, we are trying lot of things, like while trying from one application, while trying to connect from one application to the another application. That is the reason even MuleSoft was came up. Yeah, even MuleSoft was came up with the donkey logo. So you don't need to do the donkey stuff. Let me show you that. Yeah, this is the logo for MuleSoft. So this is the reason why they have chosen this logo. You don't need to really do the unwanted stuff. Let us send the data, whatever format you have. We will take care of processing the data and connecting to the third party system or the target system, and we will give you the response back to the consumer. So this is the reason behind selecting that logo for them. And one more main problem with this point-to-point integration was the components are very tightly coupled with each other. As I told you, if the target system URL is changed, then even I need to accommodate this change in our application. So because of all these reasons, people were really talking about like building an integration platform or a API led architecture for their integration use cases or scenarios. So guys, with that, are you able to understand like why we need to really go for an Mule ESB, or why we really need to go for an API led architecture? What is the need of that? And I think we discussed the better approaches in API led architecture, like starting from system APIs, process API, and experienced APIs. So I hope everyone should be able to understand like why we need to go for that. So this is the API-led architecture I've been talking about, like system APIs, process APIs, and experience APIs. So system APIs would be the actual APIs which will be connecting to the third-party systems, and process APIs is the place where you can merge you can merge responses from multiple APIs, or else you can just process, or you can filter your results in the process API. And experience API is the actual API which is being exposed to the client. Guys, are you comfortable so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes, Venkatesh.
Cool, fine. So far, like we were keep on talking about an API. What exactly this API is? So API is nothing but the application programming interface. Okay. So we were talking about API right now, right? So why we need to really go for an API? But the full form of the API is application programming interface. Suppose if I want to connect my system or my application to some other application. So in order to connect, there should be a standard approach, or there should be a method, or there should be an interface that is going to be exposed. So that is what exactly the API is going to be. So what the API is going to be an interface for connecting or for accepting the request from the source systems or from the consumers. So either it could be on the target system or it could be on the source system. So what information does the API is going to be provided? So it is mainly going to provide the operations. Like in any API, there could be a lot of methods that are defined. So it is going to tell you like what kind of operation you need to call, and then inputs. Input would be something like where we would be talking about different types of input objects. Suppose if I am calling a application, so then it's my responsibility so then to send the input request or input object. So what format of that input object is about, and output, what kind of response I am going to be I can expect from my target system, what kind of response that is going to be returned from my target system, and what are the underlying data types. So all these things, all this information would be provided by an API. So that is the reason it is called as application programming interface. So what it will do, you can actually, it will actually defines the independent of implementations. Yes, so it doesn't talk about the actual code or the actual code implementation. It will talk about like the business functionality, like how we can connect to the application, and what is the operation we can use, what is the structure of your input request body that you need to send, what with the different response type that you can expect. So all these sort of details would be available from the API level. So there are multiple things that we have to address here when we talk about API. One is API interface. So when you say API interface, in the sense, it is going to define like what we are going to call and what we are going to send and what we are going to get back. So in short, the operation, input type and the request type and the response type. Next one is a web service. So web service is the actual layer that is going to take care of your API implementation. First of all, when you say that API, so there should be an interface. So next object is implementation. So that implementation is going to be taken care by the web service. So the web services will be having the actual API code implementation, and then a proxy layer. So what is this proxy layer? So this will give the control to access the web service, where we can restrict the access, or else we can restrict the usage of an application with the help of API gateway. So why we need a proxy? First of all, suppose, let me show you one thing here. So we have deployed all our organization applications on the Cloud Hub URL. So if you see the URL here, so this is a MuleSoft Cloud Hub URL. So I have exposed a lot of APIs in my organization. Now, reason is, suppose if I'm have to connect to any system, or like some other applications would be consuming my APIs. Suppose if I don't have a proxy layer in between, then I would be giving the access to my team or to my members directly to onto the Cloud Hub servers. So Cloud Hub servers will be there on the MuleSoft data centers. So internally, MuleSoft was using Amazon AWS for the cloud infrastructure. So your request would be directly going to the Amazon AWS web service. So how we can do that? Because tomorrow you might be coming to me and saying that, hey Venkat, I want to block this request, but I don't have a control on top of it. The reason is I am going to directly give you the Cloud Hub URLs, and because of that, I don't have any control on my server, or I don't have any visibility on my server. So rather than that, what we are going to do, we are going to create a proxy layer in between, or a DNS server in between. So what that DNS server or the proxy layer will do, so it will redirect your request to the actual Cloud Hub URLs. So this is the actual Cloud Hub URL, right? So in my organization, we have created a DNS server where it will redirect the request to the Cloud Hub URLs. Now, if you see this is a server that is created on our infrastructure, api-dev.servicenode.com, and this is the actual Cloud Hub URL hosted on MuleSoft environment. So with this, I am not directly exposing my URLs to the third-party systems. So they don't know the actual implementation URLs. They will be knowing only about this DNS URL. But internally, this DNS URL was redirecting the application calls to these services. So this is how you can define a proxy layer, and you can define multiple policies or a security or gateways at your proxy layer. Suppose if you want to implement a security for your API. So when you say security, in the sense, there are a lot of security mechanisms or features that are available. I can say, let us take as a basic authentication where I need to pass username and password. So before calling the actual implementation, I should be able to check whether I'm getting the request from the right credentials or not. So that can be configured in the proxy layer. Similarly, we can have to define SLAs for our APIs. So what is this SLA? I forgot the full form of SLA, guys. Just give me a moment. Software. Let me tell you. SLA type. SLA type. Yeah, service level agreement. Got it. So SLA is nothing but a service level agreement where whenever you expose an API, your client would be asking like, hey Venkat, how much time your API is going to take to process the request. So that is what nothing but the SLA. So all these sort of details or all these sort of information will be configured or would be provided as part of the API integration or at the security layer we have been talking about. Guys, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So we are talking about SLA. So all these of SLA configuration and security related configuration, all these things can be handled in the proxy layer. So in the Mule AnySoft platform, let me show you. So this is the AnyPoint platform, guys. Like you should be able to create free account on that, and that account would be available for 30 days. So here I can create my policies, and here I can create alerts. Let me show you that. So I have deployed one of the application. So for my application, I want to define my security policies here. So here I can apply security policies where I can accept only 3 requests per minute, or else I can go for lot of other security policies here. IP blacklisting. IP blacklisting is something like where whenever you're getting a request from See, so IP blacklisting is something like where it denies the calls from a denied set of IP addresses. Yes, so whenever you want to deny a call from a set of IP addresses, then we can apply IP blacklisting, or else you can go for IP whitelisting, where it will call or it will accept the call to your API only from a specific set of IP addresses, or even go for JSON threat protection. Suppose if you are getting an incoming request as a JSON object, so then you can configure this JSON threat protection on top of your API. In some of the organizations, we would be configuring our APIs with the LDAP security authentication. So we can do that as part of LDAP security authentication. Sometimes we would be going for the OAuth authentication, like token based authentication, where you will be generating a token for every half an hour or for every 1 hour, that token would be alive. So then you are talking about the OAuth 2 authentication. So all these policies or all these configurations are pretty much handled at the proxy layer. So these are like just plug and play here. This is the one more real time advantage of going for the Mule, like where in the other projects or in other languages we might need to we might end up writing everything as the code perspective, but here lot of things are just drag and drop. You don't need to really write a lot of code, but you need to really understand the concepts behind that. So as I discussed about the policies here, even here you will be able to define the SLA types for your application. So when I say SLA type in the sense, so it will ask for the name of the application description and whether it could be automatical approval to the API or the manual approval. And here you can specify how many requests that you can expect. within a time period, like whether for 1 hour or 1 minute or 1 day, and you can configure that so that your API would be servicing only those many requests per defined time period. And here you can configure the permissions of your applications. Like I have deployed an API. Who wants to access my application? Even though in the project itself there will be a lot of people who would be working on the project, but there will be like some 20 to 25 member team who will be working on a single project. We are not going to give, I mean, admin permissions to all the people in our teams. So for that, we should be able to access, or we should be able to provide the access to them with the help of the permissions tab. And here you can see what are the applications that are deployed and what is the SLA type that we have deployed for these applications. And then we have something called alerts. Alerts is something like where whenever you want to see, like you're deploying your applications on the Cloud Hub platform, right? So whenever you want to see like your memory usage was more than 80% or your RAM usage was more than 80%, so then we can create alerts, or we can just notify the alerts through email. Let me show you one sample alerts what I have been talking about. So we would be getting lot of alerts, like whenever our application is running out of resources, then we would be getting lot of, yeah, see this. We have configured alerts for our systems. So it will be saying, hey, the application is using more than 80% of your memory. So this is how the alerts will be helpful for us in the real time. Then we can go for the settings. Settings is the place where we can define our API, like we can design our API and we can able to create a proxy here. So here we should be able to create the proxy. So if you see the configuration details, your client will be calling the API proxy, and API proxy would be internally redirecting the request into the API implementation layer. So this is how our proxy layer is being defined. See, I have mentioned endpoint with a proxy, and this is my actual implementation URL, and I'm expecting the request to be coming on port 8081. So this is how I can configure my proxy layer without the actual URLs being exposed to the client. Even in the anypoint platform, guys, we have an analytics space as well. Like suppose if you want to see how many requests you are getting from so and so region, so how much data that you are getting from so and so region. So all these sort of details can be captured as part of analytics space. So here if I say 1 month, then I can see the request that we are getting. So when you just go or scroll over on the request, then you can see what kind of different responses were returned from the request, whether it is HTTP 200 or HTTP 400 or HTTP 500 series. So all these things were configurable in the Anypoint platform. Guys, I would be talking about web services tomorrow because I don't want to break the content today and tomorrow. So I would be talking about web services tomorrow. So before that, do you guys have any questions on so far what we discussed in today's class?
No questions for now.
Okay.
Venkat, I have a question. How much amount of coding is required on a day-to-day basis, or is it all user interface? Once we understand the fundas, we can configure it from the user interface itself.
From the user interface, we would be configuring mainly, Naveen. Like to be frank, we would be configuring everything. Rather than talking about coding, we should be knowing the concepts. So that will be helping us to do the configuration and all the stuff.
Okay.
It's not like other languages, Naveen. So it's like there will be a connector that will be available. So where you can just drag and drop the connectors and you will configure your connectors here. So that is how we are going to do the coding in MuleSoft.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys?
As of now, I am okay with this demo.
Okay.
Okay. Can you please share your contact name details or something?
Sure. Can you ping me in the private chat?
We will let you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello? We will let you know, Venkat.
Sure, sure. Okay. Fine. Guys, you can take my contact details from the clients actually, from the consultant people. They will be able to provide you that. Okay? Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for joining. We will meet up again tomorrow. Tomorrow, same time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, bankers.
Thank you.